and will begin his presentation.
Yes, greetings everyone. First of all, I want to express my gratitude to the organizer, World Park Academy, for giving me this opportunity to share with you the, at least in my experience, fantastic story about the development of the urban green structure of the city of Stavanger through 50 years. I hold a master in landscape architecture. I'm a certified international park professional. I have been working with the city of Stavanger since 1980, more than 25 years in the park business. Rest of the time, environmental chief officer. Recent 10 years as head of Parks and Streets Department. I've headed several national organizations within the field and also been the president of IFPRA 2010 to 13. That's the organization that now has evolved into World Urban Parks. Through this lesson, I'll try and explain briefly about how important outdoor life is in Norway. I'll explain briefly the characteristics of Stavanger. Stavanger is geographically maybe not the most typical Norwegian city. I'll try and explain what is included in our understanding of our continuous urban green structure. I'll try and explain the development of our green structure and how it came about. I'll try and explain how we made people aware of the provision of possibilities of outdoor life and activity in the neighborhoods. The city of Stavanger, Norway, has through the recent 50 years developed an outstanding urban green structure, a green structure that provides an arena for the citizens' everyday physical activity and nature experience, an arena of ever-increasing importance for public health and quality of life. I'll explain this story according to my experiences. Others might of course have other versions. However, the result remains the same. The result of these 50 years remains as green areas throughout the whole city, in maps, on the web, and in people's heads. Why an urban green structure? It's important and attractive to have access to areas like shown in the picture for weekend and vacation recreation. It's maybe even more important to have access to nature experience and outdoor physical activity in green areas in everyday life right in your neighborhood. That's why it has been so important for the city of Stavanger to secure and give access to green areas to every citizen where they actually live. At several points through my lesson, I'll explain why I think the crucial decisions were made the way they were, and also how the opportunities for those decisions were created. Stavanger has, at least from 1965 and onwards, supported a political leadership that has acknowledged the green continuous structure as a necessary part of modern public urban infrastructure. In addition to that, this structure has been clearly present in the municipal plans. The municipality of Stavanger has ensured systematic securing of green open spaces adjacent to the major development agreements. I think it's right to present the conclusion now. Stavanger has made it. Stavanger has through 50 years developed and made accessible a continuous green structure which runs like a cobweb through the whole city. I hope to show you that this is a result of a planned and deliberate development, that there have been some thoughts behind, and that at crucial moments there have been set political clear goals and force behind the development, and also that there has been a competent administration that has implemented the agreed goals. I'll tell this story by starting in 1965, explaining the important developments and breakthroughs through the years, ending up with the project 52 Everyday Walks. 52 Everyday Walks is a project that really presents the green opportunities to our citizens and thereby brings the green structure to life. How could Stavanger, the most densely populated city in Norway, the city with the least offer of accessible green open space per capita among Norwegian cities, end up offering the highest amount of waymarked walks, 52 of them, and the highest amount of kilometers waymarked walks or trails in the country? It sounds not right, Stavanger being one of the smallest municipalities in Norway when it comes to land area. However, it is true. I'll tell you how I think it happened. Firstly, I'll give you a bit of background. Stavanger is the fourth biggest city in Norway, 132,000 inhabitants. The administrative center of the county of Rogaland, the center of an urban area of approximately 250,000 inhabitants, situated at the southwestern coast of Norway, approximately 70 square kilometers land, officially founded in 1125, a bishop of English heritage started building the cathedral that year, a cathedral which still remains. Stavanger has always had strong connections to the rest of the world. Stavanger was big in the Viking Age, however, that ended, I think it was in 1030 at Stamford Bridge in England. Stavanger was big in the sail ship area, however, that also ended. And Stavanger was big in canning, that ended as well, and left the city pretty poor after World War II. Stavanger was big in shipping, however many of the ship owners moved away from Stavanger and Norway, and Stavanger has been pretty big in Christian mission towards Africa and China, not really that big anymore. As you will understand, Stavanger has lived through a lot of ups and downs through the 900 years. Today oil business is our most important business, and that's maybe fading a bit away at the moment. And then a small taste of Norwegian outdoor life culture. In Norway, we nurture the picture of ourselves as being very aware of the environment and very fond of nature and the outdoors and very fit. Our children adapt to this outdoor life culture from as early as they can carry a rucksack. However, today more than 80% of us live in urban areas. And our challenges when it comes to public health are pretty mainstream. The inhabitants of Stavanger are probably more or less like other citizens in the Western Hemisphere. There's sure a lot of wilderness and mountainous areas in Norway. Not so for Stavanger. Stavanger is mostly urbanized lowlands, and our highest point is 135 meters above sea level. We do not have the long and sandy shores of Jæren within the city. However, many of us use them for recreation in the weekends, and they are less than 1 hour drive away. We do not have mountainous areas within the city either, but we have them an hour drive away, and we sure use them as well for recreation in the weekends. Also, before I go about telling the real story, I have to explain what I mean with the expression urban green structure and what kind of facilities we include. I guess, though, that my understanding is quite commonly shared, so I'll just give you some brief examples. Like this. Like this. A beach in a pathway in green surroundings. The sea and the shoreline is always attracting people. The city is just some steps away, just behind the trees. Making friends of green public space is important. Caring for the viewpoints and making them accessible makes friend of nature. People accept climbing when a beautiful or spectacular view is the reward, and it gives healthy physical activity in green surroundings getting there. Our woods are small but very important parts of our landscape parks. Well, like this, a social meeting place in the street or the neighborhood is an important arena for a lot of joy and social meetings. So we include places like this in the green structure if they connect. And the beauty of the city park makes a better day for many of our citizens. At least they keep telling me, and I believe them. An obvious part of the urban green structure. Training facilities in the parks are important for the attractiveness of the green structure. And the thrill of natural forces enhance the depth of the nature experience and make good stories by the campfires to come. And of course there is soccer everywhere if there's a green spot. And also nature reserves are obvious parts of the continuous green structure as we read it in Stavanger. We actively include schoolyards as important parts of our continuous green structure. They are often very popular meeting places for pupils also after school. And the provision of parks is probably the most important part of the green structure. Our many playgrounds and many other kinds of facilities are included as well. However, when we count up our urban green structure, we also include several types of open public space that traditionally maybe not are recognized as part of the green structure, like some green human-scaled streets and plazas. The main idea is that it all links together. Like this, the blue promenade along Stavanger's old harbour also included in our green structure. So back to 1965, that's actually 51 years ago. This is the year when the city of Stavanger got her first land use master plan, according to the new Planning and Building Act. This is when the public green structure of Stavanger was adopted by the city council for the first time. That is the first real breakthrough for the green. And the second breakthrough is the trail along the Stokka Lake. At the end of the 70s, the mother of all green trails was built, all the way around our biggest lake, Stokkavatnet. There was a big fight back then between those who meant that the natural paths should not be tampered with and those who thought that it was important to make the trail accessible to many. Well, the trail was built to the standard you see in the picture. The width makes it a social arena. You can walk and talk. While before maybe 50 people made their Sunday walk around the lake, after the trail was completed, the number of round trips soon raised to more than 2,000 on a bright day. Today, Stokkavatnet Trail is an important and well-known social meeting place, 8,050 meter long and 2.5 meter wide. This was followed in the third breakthrough by a massive building of green trails in public green corridors through the 80s. At the end of the decennium, it started to become obvious that we actually had the real possibility to link all parts of the city together by green trails. The fourth breakthrough was a building of the trail from Breivik to Strømvik. Around 85 to 90, there were made agreements with private landowners on acquisition of space for building a green trail from Strømvik to Breivik. The trail was constructed alongside the shores and crossed over properties of some of the most respected families in Stavanger. This agreement still makes a political majority think that every owner of a beach property must adapt to similar agreements. The fifth breakthrough was a green plan for Stavanger adopted in 1991. It stated that every inhabitant in Stavanger shall have access to the continuous green trail system within 500 meters from their homes. It also stated that a green trail should be minimum 3 kilometers long to count. Green Plan lifted the green structure of the 65 plan into the forefront, established the green western and eastern shorelines, the center line and the cross connections in the plan and also in the minds of many citizens, administration and politicians. It was shortly after the city council had adopted this plan that we stopped complaining about Stavanger being the city with the least amount of green space per capita. We took another angle and started using the slogan, probably the best urban green structure in the world. However, adding on, when the land use master plan's green structure is completed and made accessible to the public. We found it so much easier to gain support for a possible success. The complaining attitude we had nurtured earlier did not make new friends. The green plan also included several streets in the system, especially in the old wooden house areas. The green promenades, the streets that according to the green plan should be prioritized for pedestrians. I must add here that Stavanger was the biggest agglomeration of old wooden houses in Northern Europe, 9,000 of them. However, that's another story. The sixth breakthrough was a green space and trail project 91 to 95. From 91, the idea of continuous green trail system in the Stavanger version gained support also from the central government. As a part of the governmental pilot project on local environmental management, Stavanger got a pilot project on acquisition and facilitating of green open space and green trails, funded 50% by the central government. 6 million Norwegian kroner over 3 years, provided the city itself put in the same. Not very much money, however, a good start, and the support from the central government probably meant a lot more than the money indicated. The project resulted in many meters of new trails, several new green space areas purchased, and it also established public green space as a politically important municipal infrastructure entity. And above all, we got the first decision ever by the City Council on compulsory acquisition of green space, a narrow green corridor along a creek. What makes it a bit unusual is that the City Council was dominated by conservative parties that traditionally defended private property strongly, but there were strong political reasons why this happened. The seventh breakthrough was facilitating of the green trail along Karistø, Madlasandnes. Towards the end of the 90s, we got a new demonstration of the political priority on trails and continuous public green space. At a section of the shoreline along Hafrsfjord, there were 55 residential properties bordering the sea. A very narrow brim along the shore, 2 to 3 meter wide, was some 10 years earlier zoned for recreational purposes, a trail along the shore. When we started preparing for acquisition of the ground to build the planned trail, the mayor soon got visitors, the 55 property owners and their lawyers threatening with lawsuits. Somehow the property owners in the row behind the 55 and the row behind them and the row behind and so on became aware that the longed-for trail might not ever be a reality. It was now or never. They might never gain access to the sea if it didn't happen now. 2 weeks later, a little delegation paid a visit to the mayor, carrying 1,100 signatures in favor of the trail. It was just before a local election, or at least I would like to put it like that. So my understanding is that 55 lost votes if we build the trails, towards 1,100 lost votes if not, made it a fairly easy calculation. Well, the trail was built, limited some places to a width of 1 meter. The compensation took, however, a new direction. I think we have never fulfilled the after calculation on how much this did cost. Of course, the owners got compensated for the land itself, but what really set a new standard was the hardware we delivered. Moving of boathouses, new boathouses, stone walls, wooden walls, new piers, and so on. The cost really hit the roof. It was as expensive as if it was an ordinary road for cars. Anyway, I think this demonstrates how political important the public green network and the trails have become in Stavanger. The eighth breakthrough was the establishing of the heart trails, or public trails as we named them. Around the turn of the millennium, we also established short walks of approximately 3 kilometers length in every city district, inspired by the Irish Slína Sláinte, a project by the Irish Heart Foundation. In Stavanger, we established this in cooperation with the Norwegian Health Foundation. The experience left an inspiration for what later should evolve into 52 everyday walks. Step 9. In 2006 we issued a map, a green trail map for Stavanger. The aim was to inspire the citizen to take advantage of the emerging green trail network and walk the walks they never had walked before. However, people stuck to the trails they were used to. So, the 10th breakthrough and still breaking through, the Green Space Acquisition and Facilitation Project. 2001 was the upstart of the politically initiated project for acquisition and facilitating of green public space. There were still a lot of different properties zoned as green public space on private hands. Areas where it was very difficult to get voluntary agreements on building of trails and opening up to public use. The Governmental Environment Department and the Directorate of Nature Management gave much support, both in words and in funding, the first years. The project has solved many challenging issues which are essential in the work to give people possibilities of nature experiences, social meeting places and recreation in their neighborhoods, and in completing the continuous trail and green space structure. Before we started the project, less than 30% of the inhabitants had access to trail system within 500 meters from their homes. Now we are close to the goal. An example of a new landscape park opened up to people. Because many of the zoned trails and green spaces were narrow green corridors between the sea and residential areas, the negotiations were challenging and there often was strong conflict of interest. The political leadership's dedication to the project has been crucial to solve those conflicts. Some of the conflicts, though, were solved only in court. However, most of them ended up in voluntary agreements. Today, more than 98% of our inhabitants have access to the green trail system within 500 meters from their homes. However, after we issued the green trail map and people continued to walk the walks they were used to, we started to try and figure out how we should tell this great secret of the probably best urban green structure in the world. The 11th breakthrough was a project 52 everyday walks. After testing several round tracks of average length 8 kilometers, many discussions in the recreational group at the Department of Parks and Street, studying waymarking systems from many countries, we ended up on a concept of waymarking 52 different round tracks, one for each week. The project 52 Everyday Walks was born, but how should we get this happy message out to people? A chat with the local branch of the Norwegian Rambler Association, Stavanger Turistforening, gave the solution. They would definitely work with us on this project. They developed a new waymarking system, provided voluntary hosts for every walk, and provided the waymarking itself. They offered their red tea as a part of the system. The red tea enjoys very high credibility in Norway as a waymarking sign in the high mountains. So in marketing, this meant a real flying start, and the city funded it all. From the start of 2012, walks were launched one each week, and it soon became very popular to walk the walks. We have got a lot of new walkers in Stavanger, and they walk longer distances. On the web, you find the maps in 3 versions, PDF, Google, and GPX. And you find them on several websites and also in a beautiful book that has been printed again and again. So summed up, together the walks cover the whole city and brings you to all the secret places. They are walks through the green Stavanger, they are walks through Stavanger's history, they are walks in your neighborhood, and they start at your own doorstep. They are strengthening the feeling of identity, strengthening the public health, have become social meeting places, and are inspiring a lot of new walkers. They are real everyday walks. So, does it work? Unfortunately, we have not been counting the number of walkers and the number of kilometers walked before and after directly linked to the green trails. However, the website on 52 Everyday Walks keeps spotting some of the highest number of clicks at the city website. That's more actually than the clicks on the kindergarten site. The guided tours along the 52 Everyday Walks show increasingly popularity. Every Wednesday it attracts up to 100 participants and more. Observations show an increasing use of the walks. Walking as a means of travel locally has been increasing by approximately 30% recent years. People are becoming aware of all the shortcuts that the walkways offer. Inspired by this success, the city also have launched shortcut project. The walks are used by several healthcare institutions as an arena for rehabilitation and green medicine. School use them for education purposes, and we get many suggestions on improvements of the walks, showing there's a lot of walkers who engage. And we still get funding for developing the scheme. So there's obviously, in my opinion, no quick fix. I will especially focus on the following points. The vibrant vision from 1965 is crucial. And the green structure in the Land Use Master Plan 65 and the Green Plan from 91 is likewise crucial. It's also very important that the City Planning Department and their political board have been true to green structure in zoning plans all the time. Has been immensely important. The fight over land is always hard. Likewise, we have had a strong and dedicated political leadership. This green structure project would never have happened without. And of course, a dedicated administration with competence and implementation capacity has been vital. It's vital that the project is embraced by the inhabitants and cooperation with the voluntary organization as well. That the development has all the time been a governmental target area which brought funding and recognition has also been vital. And there's the money issue, of course. Without the municipal funding, no way. However, most of all, without a burning commitment from political leadership, voluntary organization and municipal administration, no walkway. Thank you for listening.
Hello again,
Hello.
Torgeir. I wonder if we, since we have the questions from the previous session up, if we could touch on just one or two of them. And I've taken the liberty of writing them down so that we could summarize them, just so that people who listen to the recording will have that additional information. The first question, how many inhabitants by square meter, how many square meters of green space is there by inhabitant in Stavanger?
Today, I guess there will be approximately 100 square meter of public green space per person, yes. But Stavanger is still developing, and so we are growing in number, but the green areas will not grow anymore. We have kind of reached what we can have there. And we have also some city development areas where we have made other rules, where we are building very, very densely with some high rises, and then we have set a new standard. Well, it's actually not adopted as we speak, but through this year it will be adopted by the city council, and it goes all the way down to 16 square meters per person in those very dense areas. 16, yeah. So the fight about land is very hard.
Yes, well, that sounds like a challenge. The next question, when the continuous green space in Stavanger was under construction, were there any agricultural lands in the area? And if so, was the negotiation with agricultural owners different from the residential owners or commercial owners?
Yes, in a way they were different, but first of all, yes, we have purchased several square kilometers of earlier agricultural land and made it to public green space. That, of course, have been several fights about that, both in politics, but also in the court. So and then how should I put it? When you go through a garden with a green corridor, of course you understand. It's easy to understand the conflict of interest. When you purchase or compulsory or voluntary agricultural land, there have been a process on planning before that. So when we actually buy it, it's not defined as agricultural land anymore. It's, yeah.
I see. And then the final question, it was just if you have any advice for improving small existing parks within a town center. I think this question is a little more.
Yeah, kind of, but I'm quite aware of we have the problem, especially in the downtown area, where there are small pocket parks, really small, and they are not really connected as yet. So one of the challenges in our emerging new constituous land use plan for the city center, we are focusing a bit on this, and we are trying to make green connections, and the green in those connections could be quite sparse, but they have to be there if they should function as green corridors, and especially on the biological side. So I would say the way of making them better, even if they are small, is trying to connect them. It could be as simple as a row of trees, of course.
Connecting
the small parks, yes.
Okay, I think we've covered the questions. I'm just going to talk a little bit about CEU credits. You can, after you view this recording, you are eligible for CEU credits. 0.1 CEU is available for this presentation, and a total of 3 CEUs are required to maintain CPP or CIPP certification in a 3-year period. I'll also note that these CEUs are also good for any other certifications that require education in parks and recreation. So if you have another national certification, these CEUs will also apply. To receive your 0.1 CEU for participating today, you must, or for looking at the recording, you must answer a brief assessment, pay a $15 processing fee, which you may have already paid when you signed up to take the recording. And we will send everyone who registered a link to the assessment and the fee. So I'd like to thank you very much for viewing this recording, and also to thank Torgeir for this really nice presentation, and to note that the beautiful photographs were his own. And so I thank you very much, and this concludes this session today.